Good evening, everyone. I am Daryl D'Souza, founder of Earthkeepers Connect, your host for this evening, which is the 12th day of the pre-summit webinars leading up to the New Earth Summit in November. It is the second edition of India's first integrative summit on solutions for our problems in health, food, farming, and environment. I extend a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists of this evening, and also on behalf of our 10 Earthkeepers group in India and overseas. And we express our gratitude to you for taking out your time from your busy schedule to be with us and to share your wisdom so that all watching this webinar and its recording later may be able to grow healthy food more easily at home. So our topic for this evening is growing healthy food at home. So I will start with introducing our panelists to the audience. Sandra Fernandes started her career as a professor of English at Assumption Commercial College whilst working on her small farm part-time. A passion for nature compelled her to come back to India, and ever since then she has been going to various schools and colleges in Goa, bringing the youth closer to nature. The reason why she works with the youth is because she believes they are the future and only they can change the future of our planet. She has conducted summer and monsoon programs with nearly 20 schools in Goa, taking them from the sowing until the harvesting season every year. She is an organic farmer and believes in reusing and recycling waste to keep Goa clean and green. She also helps the local farming community as and when they need her services, and she has worked on the SRI method, that is system of rice intensification as well. Peter Singh grew up on a farm in Punjab. He did MSc Mathematics from Delhi University and researched for a PhD in topology earlier. So in 1973, he and his wife Nino moved to his ancestral farm in Punjab and set up a biodiverse farm, a fruit orchard, dairy, seed production, beekeeping with Apis mellifera, and received 2 state awards for pioneering work in beekeeping and the honey industry. They both moved to Goa in 2013 and have developed aquaponics as a means of sustainable agriculture, a sustainable home producing all their food. They are now teaching aquaponics, waste management, and permaculture to grow organic fruits and vegetables and fish. Clea Chandmal has a bachelor's and master's degree in the biological sciences and more specifically in molecular and plant sciences from the University of Cambridge. She did her permaculture design certificate course, PDC, with Bill Mollison, Jeff Lawton, and Greg Nibish, Melbourne in 2008. Since 1997, she has been farming in Goa in the foothills of the Western Ghats in India, and her farm is called Foyd's Farm. When Clea started on the farm, it was largely infertile, but now it is a zero-waste farm, has a flourishing food forest, and is a natural home to several endangered endemic plant and animal species. Clea's understanding of ecosystems, her scientific background, and her ability to amplify and explain core underlying concepts make her lectures and classes very inspiring. As a preamble to her courses, she teaches the way the earth is wired. Clea's TED Talk, From Forest to Farm, shows a scientific and ecologically biased approach to permaculture. She has pioneered a novel approach to soil regeneration called the Forest Flow Way, trademarked, with dramatic results via her e-letter Regenerate. It's also trademarked Clea hopes to seed a positive way of thinking called regenerative thinking. That was about our wonderful panelists, and I'm sure all our audience are looking forward to their answers and also their interactions with such a high caliber panelist. So we will now begin the rounds, 3 rounds of questions for our panelists that will conclude in 1 hour, so that we can keep the next hour for Q&A with the audience. Accordingly, I ask each panelist to address each question in a maximum of 7 minutes. To our audience, if you would like to receive the recorded video of this webinar, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The New Earth Summit. Our audience may type in their questions after each round of the Q&A of the panel is complete in the Q&A box below. So here is our first question for the panelists. In this new normal of our world, why has it become important for people to grow their own food? And I would like to start with Sandra.
Thank you, Daryl, for the lovely introduction. And I'm all set. First of all, I would like to wish all of you, the audience and panelists, a pleasant evening. Now, it is said that if you grow your own food, it's like printing your own money. If you grow your own food at home, it's like printing your own money. I'm sure all of you will agree to this statement. And what do we mean by that? Well, my dear friends, we are all going through a very bad phase in life. This pandemic has struck us hard. Many people suffering all around, but it has been a boon to some of us. Many of us today have realized that growing our own food, getting into agriculture is the best way to living a healthy life. Now, being a teacher, a professor, every time there were questions. Whenever I tell my students, they ask why. And today, this is a question, why? Why grow our own food? We find a lot of food. We find a lot of vegetables in stores. We find them in open markets. So the question is, why take all that trouble? Many of us must be thinking here in the audience, why stress ourselves? Go into the hot sun and grow your own food. Well, I have some very, very strong reasons. I can go on and on, but I'm just going to take a few of them and I'm going to convince you why you should be growing your own food. The first very important reason is it saves a lot of money. In our day-to-day life, we are spending a lot of money on groceries. And if you're looking out for something organic, then you're paying double the price. Now, in a situation like we are going through, when our economy is plummeting down, coming down, it becomes very, very difficult to buy your food from out. And after having spent a bomb, you're still not sure of what you've been eating and how it's affecting us. Today, if we look around us, we see all kinds of problems. So that would be a very, very strong reason to grow your own food. Growing your own food also makes you much healthier. And why? We grow it, we know what is going into the plant, and then that plant is giving back to us. We get it fresh, it's chemical-free, and not to forget that we get it so fresh from the garden to our table. Many a times we are buying vegetables which have traveled from outside Goa, from far away. It takes hours and hours by the time it reaches our market, and from our market to the table. in this time, a lot of nutrients are lost. So we are kind of having, the stale vegetable. They look very dry. They don't look fresh at all. So how about having some nice juicy cucumbers like I just harvested today? And if you look at the background here, most of you must be thinking I'm in my garden. But today the garden is inside in my house. And as I was there harvesting, I've harvested a beautiful pumpkin. I have a long gourd. I have some beautiful lemons and cucumbers. I don't think I could find something so fresh in the market. And I feel so great when I'm having it because I grow it by myself and I'm sure that it is so safe for me. Now, eating well, eating fresh, eating clean is one part of it. We also stay in good health. Gardening demands us to be out, demands us to, give in our energy. We're out in the sun, we're enjoying vitamin D. The other day, my daughter just walked in and she said, look, Mama, I have a set of tablets. This is vitamin C and vitamin D. And you have to take this every day. And I was like, I don't think I need them because I get vitamin D free with no side effects when I'm out in my garden. So I don't think we need to spend on all these tablets when we can just walk out in our garden, enjoy the fresh air, and eat whatever we've planted. So it makes us healthy, it makes us strong, it keeps us younger for a longer time. It adds years to our life and life to our years. I really enjoy the very first thing in the morning. I just like to go out into my garden, look at the beautiful colors, look at the beautiful flowers blooming. And I don't go finding messages, morning messages to my friends. I just click and I send beautiful flowers and fruits that are growing. And I just put a good morning and have a vibrant day or have a vibrant morning. So for me, it's all about being in nature. Now, when you've put in your hard work, when you've put in so much love, you've put in so much care to nurture that little plant, and once it grows, it blooms, and you get the fruit, I want you to try it out. It tastes so much better than the ones you get in the market. Because you've put in your heart, you've put in all the effort to get that to grow. And so you feel so great about it. Not forgetting that it keeps the environment clean. For every one person who has a kitchen garden is adding to freshness, is adding to the beauty of the earth. It keeps the environment clean, the air clean. It gives you a good feeling to wake up and start off the day. So what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends, we have to teach our younger generation, our children. They're always watching what their mom, their dad, their friends are doing. This is like giving them their first lessons, taking them out to the garden, talking about the different flowers and fruits that are there, asking them to pick them up. You see the joy in their eyes. I feel good to start the day in my garden. Maintaining your own kitchen garden, growing your own food means keeping the environment clean. We have less garbage. I always see a new beginning to every end. For example, I just pick up the bottles, I pick up the wet waste, and I'm constantly using that to grow my plants. These things would have been in the bags, in the plastic bags, at the side of the street, and then picked up by the truck, and it adds and it mounts and it troubles others. So putting all the waste to good use, growing, making, making wealth out of waste. And that's what we are looking out for. We are looking out for a cleaner world. We are looking out for a fresher world. So the last and the most important thing I would like to say in this fast moving world, when we are so stressed out, we are worried about so many things. We are worried about the government. We are worried about our children. We are worried about the changes in the climate. And there's no end. At that time, if you just take that walk out into your garden, you come back fresh. You clean that slate and you're all ready to write again.
Yes, that's wonderful, Sandra. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, whenever we get you on, then we'll let you in. Yeah, Clea, could you please share with us what's your view on why people should grow more food, whether they are in a city or whether they are having a plot or having some small land, whatever the case. Why do you think?
Can you hear me now?
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you for inviting me here, and thank 49 participants for listening. So I'd like to start by saying that I think the strongest way of doing anything is when you do it without fear, when you're driven without fear. So whether the pandemic is there or not, whether Belgaum produces food for us or not, there is only one really good, healthy way of living on this earth. Our ancestors and even the indigenous tribes of the Amazon, whether the world was ending or not, they grew their own food, So yes, it's become apparent, it's come to our minds today that we must, only because we didn't have it for a period. But imagine if you had it, loads of food was coming still from Belgaum. I would still say you have to grow your own food. Even if there was no pandemic and everyone was healthy, I would still say you'd grow your own food. There are several reasons for this. I suppose that's for another time. But one of the most important reasons for growing your own food is the health of the earth and you together. They're interlinked. And to start with yourself, if your soil is mineral rich, you will be mineral rich. If you are mineral rich, then you are healthy, you are immune, and you are also cycling minerals within your system, and you never lose it. That notion of scarcity goes out of the window. You're in abundance. You don't have to be frugal. You don't have to worry about your money. It's behind you. Last year I was in was here in Goa. And again in Kandalam, we had house. Everyone in this house, there were quite a few people, were eating off the terrace quite happily. And there was no issue. And so, yeah, where you have food security, you have nutrient health for yourself and the earth, you're cycling nutrients in situ, it's not going into the sea or into a dump. You can even grow your home remedies. You can grow your haldi, you can grow your ginger, you can grow your lime. All you need is one tree per family for a lime tree, and one tree per season. So what we do is we choose a lime that's fruiting in the monsoon, we choose one tree that's fruiting in summer, one variety that fruits in winter, and then you got lime all year round, 3 trees. So this is how I would like people to be thinking. It's easy. It's like bringing up children. It's innate. It's innate to every organism on this planet knows how to get their own food or grow their own food. If we don't know how to do it, we're just insecure, that's all. It's very easy to start, and it's really very, very easy to do it once you get started. So yeah, there are many reasons that, and when you find something easy, it's healing. And when you find something easy, it releases you of a lot of other stresses associated with food. And so there's loads of effect. In genetics, we call it pleiotropic effects. One thing leading to several other things, all interconnected. And you can't even imagine some of them. So health for yourself, health for the environment, cycling nutrients, being nutrient and mineral rich. It's easy, can be designed in small spaces, and you're free of a lot of problems, whether there's a pandemic or not. And in a pandemic, it's even more important. That's what I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Clea, for that
Can you hear me now?
view.
Can you hear me,
Now I
Dan?
would like to ask Peter again.
Why should you grow your own food?
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm. I'm 75 now. So when I was born, we lived on a farm until I went to school. And in those days, that was 1945. In those days, everything was organic. There were no fertilizers, there were no pesticides, and you just used whatever you had in the soil, or whatever compost you could make. But what has happened over the years? Industrialized agriculture. Pesticide companies are selling pesticides. Weedicide companies are selling weedicides. The weedicide Roundup has been found to cause lymphoma. But that company has been paid millions of dollars. They've lost a case. And then fertilizers. They are petroleum derivatives. They are fed to the crops. And today, Punjab has a cancer train that goes from Punjab to Bikaner. The soil is denuded, and the water that is pumped out more and more, the water levels are going down. Some area the water becomes saline. So that is the food you are getting on your table. Then it is harvested, it is transported. So the carbon footprint. And the carbon footprint is of the petrol, the diesel, whatever to take it. In taking it to the location, it passes through many hands. The farmer might get 2 rupees for a thing, and at every point, there's a markup. And when it comes to the shelf, in the meanwhile, it has to be kept fresh, so various chemicals are used on it. And what you get in the market, a beautifully fresh product, if you pay 50 rupees for it, the farmer only got 5.
And not only that, in the transportation, nutrients are lost.
So then nutrients are lost, and that is the food you're eating. It is causing disease, it is causing cancer, it is causing all sorts of problems, and there's no nutrition. So the freshness is gone. So that is the food that we have in the supermarkets. We went to London and we we bought salmon. Now salmon is fed a pink dye, which is carcinogenic, because to make the flesh pink. So what you have salmon, which is Alaskan salmon, has no color, has very light, not a bright pink. Other things is pink. You buy poultry, broiler poultry. It's got pesticides. It's got growth hormones. It's got antibiotics. On a farm, and this is recommended by the universities. It's recommended by the agriculture department. When we kept chicken on our farm, they said, put in this and put in that. I said, what is all this? Tetracycline. I said, why? He said, because it won't allow the chicken to die. I said, but we'll die. Growth hormones, steroids. That is what goes into that beautiful broiler that you eat. And the vegetables that you eat that are sitting in the market, on the shelves, are full of poisons. So what is the option? The only option is to grow your own food. Wherever you are, grow your own food, and so you know what is going into it, and it will be full of freshness, it will build your immunity, and especially in today's scenario. You don't want to buy something that was harvested 2 days ago, has all sorts of pesticides and things put onto it, and then it comes on your table. And in the cities, for example, Delhi and other places, on the banks of the Jamna, all the greens are green. So the spinach and all that is grown has all the rubbish in it. It's got all the sewage in it, and that's what you're eating. So, you have to grow your own food. Otherwise, we are just asking for disease. So that is why we have always grown our own food at home. That's the answer to the first question.
Thank you, Peter. I am in agreement with all the panelists have said, and so it's mainly for food security and to guarantee that we get something fresh and something pure and something nutritious. And even here in Goa, and I so agree with the points that Clea mentioned about your soil having dense nutrients, because you can call food organic if you have not put any chemicals in your soil, but you may also not be putting enough of nourishment and nutrients in your soil. I went to some farmer friends over here and local people, and there was a young boy. His mother was really managing the field, and he was doing the harvesting. So I went and asked him, do you put any chemicals in your soil? He said, no, 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 we don't put any chemicals in our soil. I said, do you put cow dung in your soil? No, we don't put cow dung also in our soil. Then I said, do you know what vermicompost is? No, no, I don't know what is vermicompost. Then I said, what do you put in the soil? He's saying we have to put nothing in our soil. God takes care of it. We just put the water, right? So he, so he's also making organic. But yes, so when you do your own you know food at home and growing, you get to manage all that. You get to learn from the experts. You get to make your nutrients dense, and you will see that. If you're getting it right, you'll see your vegetables and fruits getting bigger and more colors. And I've seen just in 1 2 seasons my lal mat or tamdi bhaji. First, the leaves were like this small, this small. Then after the second season, third season, they became like this, and people are looking at the leaves and saying, "My God, what vegetable is this? Is it the same thing? Do you put vegetable on steroids?" I said, "No, it's just because of good soil." So, an extension to this, I would like to say something further on this question, and I just want the panelists' opinion. The origins of our unhealthy food supply, especially packaged and processed foods, that have now people are understanding that they're causing a lot of chronic illnesses because of gut inflammation, and so we are having inflammation, we're having high BP, cholesterol, diabetes, and all of these illnesses happening. And it kind of traces back to businesses that earlier that decided to make money of us by supplying us unnatural and unfresh formats of food that we see now in the most of the supermarkets, and people are all flocking to the malls. Um, and they typically have long shelf lives, but those long shelf lives are to suit the businessmen, so their products last for a longer time. And obviously, they are not making them for our health, fresh and living foods. Furthermore, they have such aggressive marketing campaigns that have subliminal messages, meaning that messages that say if you take our product, your child is going to become strong and is going to become a pilot and all of those things. And all the marketing on social media platforms, TV, radio, newspapers, and all of that have got people brainwashed, and people think that that is the real food. So how do we resolve this problem in the perception of people's mind, for their own good health? Do we ask big businesses to make healthier foods, or do we have to educate the people about what is real food and what is not real food? Or do we just somehow try to establish organic farms everywhere across a place, so it's so accessible that a person just goes out of their home and very close by they are going to find a farm? So what do you think is the solution for this? People's, the perception of food is totally whacked out. Clear?
So, yeah, I agree with you. The perception of food is a bit uninformed. Children in America believe, as you know, milk comes from the fridge. And seriously, even the best of us, if you ask them the smallest questions about food, sometimes they have no idea, you know. Does honey get pasteurized? Things like that. They have no idea. And so there is absolutely no information out there. There's fear, yes, there's fear. We know it's full of chemicals. We know it's full of hormones. And sometimes, you know, the best ad for a cigarette is that you're going to get cancer, right? So sometimes fear makes you eat that hamburger and go to sleep. So I truly believe a sense of grounding and being in nature, the answer comes to you automatically because it's innate. Like when a friend of mine asked me, I've just had a baby, it's my first baby, I don't know what to do. I said, my cat and dog knows what to do. You're just not in contact with those survival needs of yours. So I truly believe anything that would allow you to get in contact with your own ability, evolutionarily put in yourself, you will start growing food. It's so because it's so enjoyable. Why would it be so enjoyable when it works and when people do it? You know. So I think we need to work from a very different space, from grounding and from being around food, from being around nature, and just suddenly think, yeah, why not? You know, on its own. It should come to you on your own, on its own. That's what I think needs to happen.
Thank you, Clea. Peter, what would you say is a solution to this fix of people's perception of food?
See, the problem is like, well, in our family, as I said, we grew up on a farm, we had organic food. And then, but you see, the problem is the advertising. Yes, advertising for kids, for Lays. I mean, for example, look at chips Lays. I've been to Punjab where for Pepsi, those potatoes are grown. They are grown in soil where there's weedicide first, then there's pesticide. Pepsi is not, it doesn't matter to them. They just want a potato of a particular size. What goes into it makes no difference. And look at the advertisement. And these, all over in the villages where previously people ate local, moongfali or something else or whatever else. Now the packets of chips are strung all over and kids want that because of advertising. See, the processed food companies and all these companies are advertising this. We never have processed food. We never have cokes or drinks that they have never been in a house.
In fact, this friend of ours who has an NGO in Uttarakhand, she says that the younger generation won't eat ragi because they believe that it's black flour, it'll make their skins dark. So they would rather have the packaged foods and the white processed.
You see, it's
processed flours.
It's the most dangerous thing is this advertisement by these companies. And governments are run by these companies. They pay them. They pay the agriculture scientists to recommend pesticides. I mean, when we did farming, we went to Ludhiana University, and I'm shocked now to read, look at the package of practices. The whole package of practices: use a weedicide, treat your seed, then you use a pesticide, then you spray this and spray that. Even if there's nothing, you keep spraying, and you spray systemic sprays. So, I mean, this is the problem. It is the advertisement. How do you?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. So yes, the only counter, I mean, balance would be, I think, for the people who have the right knowledge and can talk about real food and how to make real food simply, in a much simpler way. That would be the kind of movement for people. And so in that effort, we are doing all of these webinars. Sandra, would you like to say something about it?
Okay, okay. Yeah, I'll just say it in short.
Yes,
I
yes.
agree fully with Mr. Peter. He says that it's advertising. And also, since the mothers are working nowadays, find it very easy to just get something from out and put it in their tiffin, order a burger, put it in the tiffin and send it to the to the school with their kids. Now, the thing is, when the kids open their tiffin, they're looking into each other's tiffin, who has got what. And if one kid is looking at a burger there and the other kid has a chapati there, you can imagine how envious that kid looks because he sees that burger in the tiffin.
Right.
So you see, this is the kind of message that we are sending to the children. And I wouldn't blame the children because partly as parents, we don't take the trouble to give them homemade food, to give them fresh food. So we are so busy working mothers, it's very difficult. We just get orders, we put it in their tiffin and they're off to school. So in a way, we are responsible for that. And we should start rethinking about it now, before it's too late.
Yes, that's
That's
right.
all.
Thank you, Sandra. So I hope our audience has got a good idea now of the several reasons why you need to, as far as possible in your own capacity, try and grow your own food, even if it's a few pots. You can definitely even grow a lemon tree or a tomato tree in a pot in the house or in the veranda. And we are here also to share today how you can do it easily. So my next question would be to all of the panelists. What are the most important principles of growing food at home or on your own plot of land? Sandra, if you would like to start. Just
Yes.
basics, yeah, some
Well,
basics that, for the, just
yeah.
think if our audience are somebody who are just starting out, what are the basics that they need to get clear first?
Right. Usually when you ask people to grow food at home, the first question that comes to their mind is a space. And what they're looking out for is a huge space, 1,000 square meters or 10,000 square meters to have enough food and to grow food at home. And the second question is, how much would I have to spend to start a food forest or a small kitchen garden? And immediately the answer is, oh, I don't have the space and I don't have the money to spend. It's very expensive. But I think that's a very wrong idea that we all have in our minds. If you have a will, when you have a will, there's a way. And you can grow better, you can grow more nutritiously if you have. And that is exactly what I do in your balconies, in the backyards, on the rooftops, the most ideal places. Now, when we say we have to spend a lot of money on fertilizers, we have to buy containers to plant these trees, I can think and tell you 1,000 ways in which you can start an amazing kitchen garden without spending a pie. The first thing is we could use the scraps of vegetables like onions, potatoes, tomatoes, use the seeds, use the stem, use the shoots, use anything that you have. Different vegetables propagate in different ways. So if it's an onion, you know how to do it. Spring onions, you just cut the top and leave the bottom part. From there, you get a new shoot coming and you have so many beautiful spring onions again. The same goes with tomato. When you use a tomato, you cut it, just take a few seeds and grow them, germinate them, and you have your tomatoes. Same goes with potatoes and green chilies, mint. They are some of the easiest plants that you can grow. And you don't need much. You don't need to spend much time. There are lots of ways which we could discuss later of how you can even reduce on watering them. So what I actually do is I try to keep all the wet waste. I segregate the wet waste first. I just get the onion heads and I get some buds and some seeds and I keep them for the next planting. And that which I cannot use to plant, I just keep it aside and use it as a fertilizer to grow the same plants. So I'm not having wet waste. I just use my wet waste to grow a new set of plants and a nice healthy kitchen garden. Also, the dry waste, like the plastic bottles, jute sacks, glass bottles, Tetra packs, ice cream cups, just about anything that you would otherwise throw away or burn and add to, the pollution, you just use them. And these plastic bottles, after you've used them, you can grow mint, you can grow chilies. It depends on the size of the bottle. And you can also have it like, if you take it and you cut it into two, you just have the lower part with water and the roots will absorb. Even if you're not there for 8 days and you're out on a holiday, your plants are fresh, they are having enough water till you're back. So what I do is I just use even the packets, the surf packets, you just take them, clean them well, and then you can use them as plant growers. You can grow your plants in them, and they're fantastic. They're durable and long lasting too. Now, what I would like to tell all my viewers here is try to reduce the waste. And the best way you can do is, it's not to put it in a plastic bag, keep it there and wait for someone to collect it. And then it's mounting on some other place there. Just use what you have. Use all the waste that is around. Your wet waste, your dry waste, whatever it is. Recycle, reuse. And I think if you make use of everything, you have to see a new beginning in everything. Like a bottle, for those who don't think, be innovative. We just take this and throw it in the bin. But I can see so many things that we can do with these bottles. So I would ask the viewers here today to just be a little more innovative, to be a little more conscious about the atmosphere, and try to use anything that is going to be your waste, that is going to be lying around, and create filth and create lots of diseases. I think we can solve the problem of garbage, and that's the biggest problem we have in Goa today. We're just taking things from our side and pushing it in our neighbors, and our neighbors are just doing the same. And so
Sandra, so you mentioned about, the containers, and you mentioned about, getting the wet waste and all together. Any tip on, for people in the house making soil? What is the easiest way from this wet waste that you've collected? Should they get a composting bin, one tire, two tire? What's the simplest way of composting if they have this wet waste? Can they mix it with soil or with sawdust, or what is it?
Exactly. Now, what I do is, when I have, like, let us say we have banana peels, we have onion peels, tomato peels, whatever you have. I just put them at the end of the day. Whatever I need, I'll take it out for planting for the next season. The rest, I will put it out in a small little, like an old bucket. Does a great job. Because sometimes we have buckets which are too old or they have holes in them. So I just place them out in my garden. I take the waste and then I put one layer of soil on it. The layer of soil is not to allow the flies to come and sit on the waste. So once it is covered with a layer of soil, it goes on from day to day. And you put again, the next day you put another layer of your waste and another layer of soil. And in a month or two, you can, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you. So we can hear you. Does your bucket have a hole?
How I accumulate.
Does your bucket have some holes at the bottom for drainage?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's why I have used the bucket, because I won't put my good buckets out. So once it has a hole or it has a crack in the bottom, that's when I use it. And even further, in the nights, because we have a lot of rats, a lot of pests moving around, and I just put it there. And I cover it with a plank or a bark of the tree so that nobody can enter and burrow into that waste basket of mine, into the waste bucket. And I tell you something, after a month and a half, when you take out the waste and you put it on the roots of your trees, oh, it works like magic. Yeah. So that's how I put all my waste, instead of just throwing it out, getting all those flies and cockroaches and insects coming there. It's, I just put it to good use.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you, Sandra. Peter, would you like to share about, how you do it in your model?
Yeah. So you see, we are doing aquaponics. Now, firstly, growing your own food is the most satisfying activity. You work with your hands,
It's one more last question that I'll answer.
you grow your food, and you pluck it and you eat it and you cook it. I and my wife both enjoy cooking. So you cook your food, you cook your fresh food, and you can do what you like. Now, what we did was, you see, what is the problem? We have these cities, we have these concrete jungles which have been created, and all the vegetation is gone. So there is a new field called agritecture, and companies are working on that, making greenhouses outside buildings to grow their own food, which cools the building and also generates so on along the walls, on the rooftops, on the gardens. So what we did was we moved to Goa 7 years ago, and we had no organic food at that time, and we only eat organic. So growing a small kitchen garden didn't work. So we discovered aquaponics. Now what did we do? You keep fish in a tank, you feed the fish, and the fish waste goes to a biofilter, to a filtration system where bacteria grows. It breaks up the water of the fish waste into nitrates and nitrites. That is pumped to plants which are grown hydroponically without soil, and they are grown vertically. We have a 12-foot by 24-foot greenhouse. We have vertical towers, pipes. So one 6-foot high pipe has 20 plants in it. We have horizontal pipes called NFT systems, where a 10-foot long pipe has 30 plants in it, and there's one pipe, one on top of the other. And in a 12-foot by 24-foot greenhouse on a rooftop, we have 2,000 plants. And on the terrace, we have 25 fruit trees. And all these are fed water from the aquaponics. The fish tanks, the water goes to the plants, they take the nutrition, they clean the water, it goes back to the fish. The total water requirement we have in our system every day is only 300 liters. We get municipal water, 3,000 liters. We have 3 fish tanks of 3,000 liters each. 10,000 liters is to fill it up. Every day we only use 300 liters as an evaporation loss. And we grow 3,000 plants. We have all our vegetables, we have fruits, and we are also able to sell vegetables. And we have all our fish. We produce 120 kilos fish a year. And this is just in a small villa. It's a 180 square meter villa. And there's greenery all around. What we have also done is we have modified it by permaculture. All our kitchen and our garden waste goes into composting. So what we do is, Nino does the job, that's her, this thing, I'll briefly explain it. All the kitchen waste goes into drums with EVM. It's allowed to decompose in that, in a closed drum. All the fish waste, like when we harvest our fish, the fish bones, the heads and all goes into another drum.
To which we add jaggery and EVM to remove the smell. And this is the most nutritious.
That's a fish emulsion. That's a fish emulsion. Bananas and all, we keep banana peels. We keep them separately. That's very high in potassium.
For
and they are used in the soil. Eggshells.
So eggshells we keep separately, which we grind. First we boil to kill the bacteria, and then we grind them, and that's calcium. So we provide natural nutrients for the plants.
And then you get seaweed extract. You add to your fish tanks, and you can spray it on the vegetables.
Do a foliar spray.
Then you make what Nino makes is a compost tea with all the vermicompost. And see, what we do is we put all the kitchen waste into a closed drum, let it decompose. All the garden waste and the extra leaves from the greenhouse goes into another bin where there are worms. The worms start breaking it up into compost. When one drum fills, we throw it into that compost and we start filling the next one. Within 3 months, every 3 months, we get 10 bags of vermicompost.
Black gold, as we call it.
Which is worth, if I'm buying it today from, it's 700 rupees a bag. So 7,000 rupees of vermicompost, and it is so nutritious. When you put a seed in that, it just grows. So we have modified aquaponics by using permaculture in it. The pots are filled with this vermicompost and coco peat.
See, you use your food waste goes back into making your food again. How wonderful is that?
So, whereas traditionally aquaponics uses only inert material, hydroton and other things. We put all this into pots with coco peat and we plug it into the system. The plant roots go out, they take the nutrition from the water, no watering is required. The watering is automatic. There is only one pump. That pump pumps the water up. There's a lot of physics involved, there's gravity, and the water goes back to the fish tank. So it's a natural closed ecosystem, which is self-sustainable. There is no fertilizer. The only component is feeding your fish. You feed your fish, and now we're making our own feed. And what do you make for fish feed? You buy oil cake, you buy wheat bran,
yeah.
which are waste products. You feed that. If you don't want to eat fish, keep koi carp. They look beautiful. They swim around, enjoy them, and have your food.
And they produce a lot of waste.
And now our next step is putting in solar power, so that we have solar, we have our own energy, we have our own food, and then all along the walls we are making racks, and we are putting another 51 fruit trees all along our walls. So by next year, the whole wall will be covered by fruit trees.
Lovely.
So that's what we're doing.
Lovely. Thank you, Peter. So from your model, yes, it does take a little bit of science and a little bit of tech, and startup cost would be a little more, right, for all the piping and the solar. But in the long term, it looks like a self-sustained kind of a system.
Yeah, the FAO has the analysis of this, that the capital cost of aquaponics is recovered within 1.5 to 2 years.
Oh,
Also, your yields are much higher.
And yields in
this
aquaponics
system.
are 6 times the yields of any other form of agriculture. This is statistics published by FAO.
okay.
So there's no weeding.
There's
you
no
use
weeding,
very little
there's no water, right? And you
Right.
see, since you have plants, you just plug it in, harvest it, plug in the next.
Yes.
There's no heavy work. I'm 75. I'm doing it all. Now I'm doing it all myself. We have 3,000 plants.
Yeah, we're both working on our own. We have no outside help.
We have
at
no
all.
outside help. We stopped everyone 16th March. We are both doing it ourselves.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you, Peter. Clea, would you share with our audience what is the very basic and most important, things that for growing food at home, especially about, from the wet waste, compost, and all, how they can start making good soil,
Yeah, I'm a soil person, so I'll leave soil to the end. Okay.
Okay.
So the question I'm going to answer is, what are the most important things to start growing food? Because this is actually a huge topic.
Yeah.
So try and keep it as small as possible, but effective, hopefully. So the first thing from the experience I've had with students is that you have to really want to do it. It's so important. It's not that you have to do it, but you have to really want to do it. There needs to be a little bit of grit in you to go through the bad times in the beginning and not give up. A lot of people are throwing the towel in when the tomato wilts, they, forget this, I can't do this, I'll rather go and buy food. So we need to, in the early days, realize that this is a learning process like anything. Do you remember the first time you tried to walk? So we have to really want to do it, and we have to have a tiny bit of grit to push through. That's so important, much more important than what your land looks like. The second most important thing, if I'm going to make a list of priorities, is that you need some sunlight in my system. Okay, there are systems where you have artificial light, but the system I work with, which is more with soil and outdoors, is you need to have at least 6 hours of sunlight a day. And you have to make sure, you have to make sure that you don't have strong winds, and especially salty strong winds. You have to work on that a little bit. So sunlight, and minimize this strong winds, at least in the early days. So that's your kind of space. Then you need to think seriously, about what you are choosing to grow. You can't do eggs and grain, right, in small spaces or a terrace. And we're referring to small spaces, I think, in this seminar when we say grow your own food. I'm assuming that. So we need to now think, what am I going to grow? Where am I going to get the most leverage from? And it usually comes down to vegetables, herbs, and medicinals. And so if that is your list, just because Karela grows well in your garden, but you hate it, there's no point growing it. So not only are you going to have to make a list of what you want to grow out of the subset, out of the entire set of food you eat, you have to also decide what you like. A lot of people grow what grows and it rots in the garden. They don't eat it. They're still going to the supermarket because they don't like what they grew. And it grew, that's why they're growing it. So it's a bit circular. So you need to make a list of what you really want to eat. If you hate Karela, even if the seed germinated, don't grow it. Okay. The other thing is to make sure you grow local foods that are perennial. So at any time, there's something there for you to eat. You have to balance that you have a bank of stuff that grows without you looking at it. It's local and you plant it once in its lifetime and it'll always be there. And we need to make that list of perennial foods. And then you need to add your annuals in there to add a little spice to it and not get bored. And you have to eat the two of them. You can't grow your food and not eat it. This is also what happens a lot.
Yeah, to make it little easier for at least, people in India or maybe other countries too, but at least for India, is there any online resource where people in different cities in India can see what are their seasonal foods? Because I know that, many people don't know what to grow in which season.
Actually, that's the biggest question I get from my students as well. There is no online resource actually, and we all are the resource basis. There's a whole load of people who grow food in Goa, as well as around India, and we need to just do some research, poke around. There are lists, and there are people you can ask, but there is no database as such. America has a database, plant database. You just say, I want vegetables, and per your climatic zone, they'll give you seasons and vegetables. But India hasn't got that yet. So it's basically traditional knowledge, your granny's knowledge, our knowledge.
Yeah. So if people run to their local farmers, do you think local farmers have a good grip on it, or they have also lost the science?
They will know the species that grows locally, and you may have to do a little homework to find out which ones are perennial. Which perennial literally means you plant it once in its lifetime and it either stays in the ground and keeps coming back, or it's there always. And things like sweet potato leaves, pumpkin leaves, they can be seen as perennial. You can eat those. You can eat thinly leaves. You can eat lots of things that you wouldn't think. You can actually eat and grow very easily.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Yes, next. Your next
so,
point.
then there's water. You need to have some water around. Now the system I teach, we water about once a week only, and a tiny amount, like a little bit of gray water once a week suffices. You don't need more than a bucket a week for the system I teach. And then most importantly, if you're on the ground, on a terrace or in a backyard, you need to have proper pathways. There's no point having a plant at the end of something where there's no pathway to go and get it. You believe me, you won't go and pick it. It will just die in the corner over there. You need to make sure your pathways are in place and that every food is at a hand's reach. These are small points which make a big difference. And to prevent pests, the easiest way to prevent pests without using pesticides and chemicals is to mix up the produce, mix it all up. Don't do 10 rows of bhindi in one line, Put in colors, put in smells, and mix up, put in the biodiversity, and you'll be surprised how little you'll have pest problem. I put in things like jasmine between my plants. I throw mint around in every pot. I confuse the pests with smell and color. So they can't find their host. And I've never used a pesticide, ever. Not on my farm in 14 acres, not on my terrace, because I mix the produce up. So there are lots of little tips like this.
Yeah,
Those are
if you
the
would
main.
just I want to summarize so we can go to the next question.
Yeah, this is just to give people an idea. So that's me on my terrace. Every day I'd get this kind of thing. How do I get to the next one now? I don't know. Unstable. That's my terrace. So we don't really do much, no pesticide, no fertilizing, no work. You seed and you harvest. You can see the bhindi in front, the suran, there's all your local grown vegetables. This is closer look at it. This is another small space, 25 feet by 10 feet, where we had a lot of greens growing. That's it. So it's not difficult to get a lot of produce in small spaces.
Okay, lovely, lovely.
But you have to want to do it.
Yes, that's right. So, our next question is before we get into the Q&A round now with the audience, very quickly, if each panelist could just share with us right now if you are doing any projects, you have any courses that are happening now which our audience can access. And besides that, if you have a website or how to connect with you to, learn more from you. Sandra, could you please share? Uh, Clea, could you unmute Sandra?
I can.
Sandra, you need to unmute yourself.
I'll do that. Is it
Yes,
clear?
yes.
Okay.
And Clea,
So,
please make me the host again. Thank you. Yes, Sandra.
How do I make
okay.
you host?
So, as I said, I usually have these short courses for farmers. We just had 3 or 4 of them last month with in collaboration with ICAR and the zonal office MAPSA. Right now, I'm planning to have one for kids and try to teach them how to set up a mini garden. A small garden wherein which will give them the container and they'll put in their herbs or anything that they'd like to plant and show them how it all works, how to mix the soil, what the soil contains. And yes, I have my agri clinic wherein which most of our farmers come in and they get all the organic stuff that they need like coco pit, vermicompost, whatever you need, sprayers and stuff like that. If anybody is interested in any kind of, anything that they want to, they can contact me on my email address, sandragreengrowth@gmail.com, or they can call me to my number. Hello, I can't hear you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sandra.
Okay.
Peter, would you please like to share how people can connect with you and what are your ongoing projects or programs where they can get involved?
Thank you. So we actually last November started training courses on aquaponics. So initially we used to have every weekend a 2-day course once for 2 weeks on Saturdays. Then we found that that was not really effective because people came, they looked at our system, we had the courses, but they were unable to put it into practice. So now what we are doing is once a month, we have a 2-week course on aquaponics on Zoom, 40 minutes a day, and on a WhatsApp group. So for each course, we create a WhatsApp group. And during that 2 weeks, the first week, every day is a different topic of aquaponics, is the theory and the science of aquaponics, the systems of aquaponics, and how it all works. Then by the weekend, they send us an email of their place, what they have, where they want to grow it. The options are a balcony, a rooftop, a terrace, inside a room, on a garden or a farm. And then and what they want to grow, what fish they want to keep. Do they want to keep fish to eat? The fish that we have grown are rohu, katla, all the carp varieties, freshwater fish, giant freshwater prawns, and chonak sea bass. And our fish has grown to up to 2 kilos in our tanks. So we produce 120 kilos fish a year. And now we are, so what we do is the next week, in the second week, is spent on design, concepts of design of each person's system. So whether it's a balcony or a rooftop or what, what he has. And we advise them to use local material. We are not selling any systems. So wherever people are, for example, we have courses, we have people in Delhi, Calcutta, Trivandrum. Last course, we had someone in Scotland. So now we are setting up trout aquaponics with him. And he's very excited. So the idea is different varieties of fish. So in the 2 weeks, we cover the entire systems and design of aquaponics. And then we move them onto a WhatsApp group of projects, where all the people who've done the courses are setting up their projects and they interact with each other. So we're building a community of people who are setting up aquaponics. There's a wonderful grandfather and grandson team who set up a small unit, in their veranda. There are people in Delhi, in Scenic Farm, they are setting up projects. There's someone in Calcutta, he wants to work actually with the Sundarbans area, with the women there. So we are talking to farmers. We're also talking to schools. Because for schools, this is STEM education. You see, aquaponics is science, technology, engineering, design. So physics, chemistry, biochemistry. In fact, Nino went to New York.
There's an NGO who are teaching schools aquaponics on the rooftops. But our mission now is that everyone can grow their own food wherever they live. And that's what we want to teach.
So this is what our course is there. And then the WhatsApp group carries on. We are setting up a website, all our videos of our systems, and we are teaching practical aquaponics. And we're teaching them everything, composting, what kind of vegetables to grow, what kind of fruits to grow. And this is an ongoing process.
And the simple tips from our experience we want to share.
And you see on our WhatsApp group, the projects group is a continuous group. It carries on. So as people are growing things, they keep interacting. We are giving all the suppliers there, because wherever someone is, you can buy locally. Why should you buy from a company, you see? So right. it is a different system of aquaponics.
Everyone is sharing information.
And use local material, use cheap material, use gravel. Don't use fancy stuff. I mean, in New York or US aquaponics are very fancy material. Don't use them. Use local material.
So, Peter, how can people get in touch with you? There's a website or a group?
Website is coming up. My WhatsApp number is 95. Should I type it in here?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
So 9599443202 is my WhatsApp number.
If you could just type it in the chat, any website or any email address or
that's my Peter. That's
number,
my WhatsApp.
you can just put it in the chat to everyone. Okay.
Yeah, I put
all panelists and attendees.
Yeah.
Thank you. Clea, what would you like to share? You have something going on now, any course, any way people can get in touch with you?
So first I'd like to say this has been fascinating listening to Peter and Sandra. Thank you. Really fascinating. How can people be in touch with me? I'm very hard to get in touch with, actually.
Right now, are you having any upcoming program or course that they can understand,
Yeah, so because I'm in Valpoi a lot, there's very little signal there. So the best way of getting in touch is an email, and I'll write out the email address. It's to elroy@permacultureways.in. permacultureways.in. I shall type it out. Courses, yes. I do a lot of courses, but because of COVID, we've had to change it all to online, which is taking a little time. I'm going to do how to grow food and home remedies in small spaces fast. That should come out either in December or January, that course, because I'm doing videos and things. Otherwise, Really nothing right now, Daryl. I'm trying to put it all together for online.
Okay, any
I,
Facebook group or a page
yeah,
that's easier than a website.
there is, yeah, there is Facebook. Things are coming up. Nothing now actually.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing now.
Okay, so the
But you're
email
most
address is
welcome to write
yeah,
Elroy. Let me.
yeah. Please type that out so people can get in touch with you on that. Okay, so now I will start with the questions from our audience. Um, the first is anonymous. I don't have the name. What would you advise uh, for someone who's struggling to start and has challenges of no experience, lack of knowledge, time constraints as well, because they have a job? So yes, for somebody who has no experience, is also handling a job, uh, what is the easiest advice or the way to start? Any panelist who would like to reply to that, please. Sandra, would you like to say something? Sandra, you're on mute.
Is
Okay.
mute.
Clea, what would be the an easiest way to start for somebody who has less time, no knowledge?
So the system I teach actually requires very little time and a course. But if you're not doing a course with me and are not doing my system, the best thing is to just start. It's like jumping at the deep end. Just start, dig a hole,
Because
put some powder, plant something.
yeah, and they should probably do what Sandra was suggesting. You know, everybody's got a broken bucket in the house, so just take that broken bucket, put a layer of your compost soil, and just start layering it. And within 15 days, I think people will start seeing what's happening to the soil and get their first lesson. Is that
Yeah.
right, Sandra?
Yes, and I think if where there's a will, there's a way. Even though you're working and you have other problems, if you really want to keep yourself fit and healthy, you're really going to get out there and you're going to grow your own food. It doesn't matter if you're old, if you're young, or even people in a wheelchair can do that. So I think if you have the passion, you can fly without wings. So for all the viewers out there, I think we must all work hard to create a better world, a greener world, and eat fresh, live healthy. That's all I
Yeah.
can say. Of course, we are always here to help them. If they have any problems, they can always contact any one of us, and we'll be more than happy to come and share our knowledge with them. I don't want to say that I know everything, but yes, I could guide anyone who's very new and who wants to start up a garden. I'll always be there
Okay.
to
Thank
support them.
you, Sandra. And I'm just recollecting again what I learned, about 3 years back in Clea's course was where that always remains in my mind. Soil is the most important thing, and soil is the starting. So
Right.
before you even go and find the seed, you will need to learn how to make soil that you need to put all of this wet waste and all of your things, dry waste. I mean, like dry leaves and all of that, and kind of get the decomposition right. So once you have good soil, then you can put the seed in it, right? There's no point in putting a seed in bad soil. Uh,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just added a point there. So I help people on the phone, help guide them also informally. So people can call me. I'll put a number down. If you get through, I will be happy to share my thoughts. The other thing about soil is, yes, soil is. I'm a soil person. So although aquaponics is soil, they have systems in place to give the nutrients. I work with soil, and one of the best ways of getting disease-free plants is good soil. Now, that link is something I can't go into now, but
okay,
the
okay.
best way of having the least problems in growing food is having good soil. You get plant immunity, you get all kinds of things set up once you have good soil. Yeah.
So Peter, what is the advice to this person? Less time, less knowledge. Is there? So your your course, it's a highway quick learning program that they
Yeah,
can.
because you see what we do is we have small models. Like we have,
I just Peter, sorry to interrupt. I just want to make one more thing, for the audience, especially those people living in cities, right, Peter, who do not have land. So your kind of aquaponic system is the best fit for people who don't have land. Is that right, Peter?
Yes.
no, those, well, of course, for those who have land can set up large units. There are aquaponics farms, for example, we just did a course with someone in near Nainital, and his neighbor has set up a 2-acre aquaponic farm, and he supplies all his vegetables to Delhi, and the fish he sells locally. So you see farms in Bangalore, there's a very large commercial aquaponic which supplies vegetables to the whole city. So, but of course, the beauty is that in a small, in a veranda or a rooftop, like we have a small model. I'll post a video about it later, which we set up at TED Talks last year. It's just a 4-foot aquarium, and it's 2 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet high, and it has 250 plants. And it's just on the side. You can put it on the side of a room with artificial lighting. You can put it in a veranda. You can put it anywhere.
On a balcony.
On a balcony, and it has 250 plants. And the energy requirement for that is only 200 watts.
And you need to spend maybe 10 minutes.
And there's no time because it runs automatically. You just set it up. Yeah, as 10 minutes in the morning.
All you do is feed your fish.
Feed your fish, and then you harvest your plants. That's it. So a lot of our people who've done our courses are doing that. They're setting up those units. As I said, a grandfather and grandson team in Goa, they've set it up. They've got tomatoes, they've got everything, and they've got various things growing, and they're very excited.
Yeah, lots of other people also who've set up units.
And we are setting up farms also now. In fact, at the moment, we have a course going on, which at 7:30 I have to go for, where there are 5 farms in Goa, and they want to set up on a large way in the farms. So farms will be a different design. Because you see, for farms, you can use the same water to water your fruit trees, but that is drip irrigated. It doesn't come back, because the trees are grown in whatever way you grow them, and you drip irrigate this. So this is giving extra nutrition. You don't need to give fertilizer.
Yes, but for the urban farmer too, you can do modular units and grow your own food.
So
that's the most important.
So like you have a model for a balcony. Our balcony model has again 300 plants, and it's got a 500-liter fish tank.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Peter. And the next question also I'll take because it's addressed to you since you need to leave, I think, at 7:30, as you mentioned. So the next question is about the cost. So it is from Sanam Mirpuri. Can we please see the aqua farming pic and know the startup cost for a family of 4?
Well, you see, it depends what you want to grow, because ultimately, I'll send you the videos. So if you ask them to contact me. Now,
okay, Peter, one basic question, because I think I know Sanam. I think she's a vegetarian. So your model, do you make it? Is there a model for vegetarians, and is there a model for non-vegetarians also who want the fish?
The model for vegetarians is koi carp, ornamental fish.
Ornamental. Okay, you just don't eat the fish.
You don't eat the fish. You look at them; they look beautiful, and they've got koi carp of golden, black, yellow, and they're lovely swimming around. Okay. And you can sit and watch them playing with each other, and they give you the vegetables. So that model we have, which we set up the TED Talks to give you a costing, that costs about 30,000 rupees, which is an aquarium, and it is 6 feet wide, 6 feet high, and 2 feet deep, and it has 250 plants. So it can give you your lettuce, it can give you your greens, it can give you radish, chilies, tomatoes, and it can give you a lot of basic, 250 vegetables, you decide which ones you want.
Mint, you see, so your greens.
Basil, and they're right outside. You just go and pluck them. And what we have done is, since we're using the net pots, the pots in them, what you do is you grow it. We have a separate nursery area. You grow it in the pot, and then you plug it into that, and then you take out the other pot and it carries on. So you have a continuous supply. The yields are more.
Okay.
because we've broken it up into 3 areas, nursery area, grow area, and harvest area.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. And here's a question from Manish Shah, short and sweet. I think it's maybe based on what Clea mentioned. Clea, what about 5 hours of sunlight? Is that also okay? I think you mentioned 6.
So Daryl, will you excuse me?
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
we have
Yes,
to go.
Peter. Yeah, Peter. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you very
Thank you for
much.
being with
uh,
us.
thank
And
you.
Really
please,
enjoyed listening to Clea and Sandra. Thank you,
Yeah,
Darren.
wonderful job you're all doing, and I think let us work together on this and make it a movement.
yes. Thank you. All the best to
And
you. And say hi to your students, your batch now
I
from us.
will. I
Thank you.
will. Bye.
Bye bye. So yes, Clea. Clea, you mentioned at least 6 hours of sunlight, right?
That would be optimal. Otherwise, you'd get
Okay.
spindly plants that are trying to find the sun. But yeah, 5 should be fine. What some of my what I've done before, and some people do, is that they move their pots around. So if the sun has moved to the east, they'll move the pot to the east. The ones that require sun especially. And when the sun moves to the west, they'll take that very pot and move it to the west. So, if so, you need to understand which species need a little more sun than the others, and you can move it around a bit. They have these rotating pot planters as well. You can rotate the planter according to how the sun is moving in your space, also. So yeah, 5 hours should be okay. Yeah, just only
Okay.
just.
I just had a brainwave right now for people growing in their balcony and all that. Is it a good idea to paint your walls white, so that they reflect light all the
Yeah,
time? Yeah?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Lovely.
As
So,
much as you can reflect light.
yeah. So now this is from Abhay Mohure. I am from rural area. A problem about labor, climate, forest animals such as pig, tiger, deer. I have 17 acres of agricultural field in Maharashtra, temperate zone, black soil. So which crop should I grow so that I have less problem and less investment and more profit? So he's saying, yeah, overall, I think this one part of this question is about these animals, right? So what can you do about these wild animals? And then he's got black soil, and what's a cheap, easy way to do?
So you want me to help you with?
Yes, Clea, would you like to comment? Um, I just,
So,
yeah, please.
this question is a very common question among farmers in Maharashtra. And if you can help with the Marathi, I don't know how to use. When you design for a place, when you have a list of problems like this, there is no formula. So if I gave you an answer, you have to do this and grow that and do, it would be wrong. What we need to do is, when he says profit, we need to do numbers. We need how much profit, how much do you have to put in, which animal is it, can we find a way of blocking that animal? The tiger is very hard to block, but the pig is very easy to block. So we need to break this entire problem down into realistic targets, which we'll tackle via design and quite profitably. But then if I had given an answer, is my connection, if I had given an answer, it would not have been complete right now. So
Okay,
yeah,
if we
he
just
needs
handle,
to break it down a bit more.
yeah, if we just help him with one or two animals, suppose like you said, the pig. So what can be done for the pig? Hello, Clea, I think your connection is gone a bit. Sandra, could you please comment or share any solutions for keeping the pigs away?
Sorry, that my
Okay,
internet
okay.
connection. So the tiger actually doesn't put pose any problems to farmers in Maharashtra. In fact, some of the farmers like the tiger to come in because it eats the deer and the deer don't come in and eat the crop.
Yeah.
So if there's a tiger, so there are lots of issues that need to be handled. Yeah.
So
to answer
anything
that.
for the pig?
Yes, we do trenches. There's a certain size, depth, and width, and then we plant on the on the side of the trench closer to the plot, and the pig doesn't come. Yeah, we've got good success with the dukkar. Yeah,
Look at it.
there are ways
And
of solving.
I just had an idea last week when I was trying to do harvest some of my vegetables. In the middle I went and put 2-3 pineapples. Okay, and every time I go to harvest, these pineapples are really poking and scratching me. I said, God, why did I plant them here? So then I had this thing that whenever I'm going to make a field and all four sides I'm just going to put pineapple, 2 rows of pineapple. So I know for sure dogs won't come in, chicken won't come in. What else won't come in if somebody does pineapples all across the place? Peacocks will fly, of course. So is pineapple, and does pineapple
So on
grow?
my farm, yeah, that's interesting because on my farm I've grown pineapple to prevent the leopard and tiger also coming from any direction.
Yes.
So yeah, there a lot of animals like to walk on the trodden path, and the pineapple does poke. So you can work with pineapple like that's a good that we do that for leopard and tiger. Yeah.
And the second thing my mom was asking, because it's around for so long, she said, when is it going to give fruit? And I said, the last time I did something, it gave me a fruit after 1.5 years. So like you got that fencing, almost for 1.5 years. It seems like a good proposition.
Yeah.
So I'll go on to the next question. Okay, from Asha Chandan. Your comments about frozen vegetables and fruits. The winters in Canada are harsh. Hence, we buy a lot of frozen blueberries and various vegetables. So the question is, okay, just about comment about frozen fruits and vegetables. Um, but I guess that if they are not going to get it fresh, then they have to have frozen only.
No, we have a solution. So every landscape in the world has a bad time. In India, it's the summers sometimes when you can't grow as well. And in the northern, in the temperate zone, it's the winters. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, there's one season which is not the best. And for that, there's a lot of dehydrating, pickling, jamming, storing. There are lots of ways, drying and powdering. There are lots, people are powdering pumpkin as well, pumpkin flour. And in those times, people, they forage a lot. Surprisingly, you get berries. There's a lot of foraging as a way of procuring food in the bad times. So there are ways when in summer you have a glut, in spring you have too many zucchinis, you can pickle them.
Okay. Thank you, Clea.
Yeah.
And another question for you,
Yeah.
Clea.
Would Sandra like to say something?
Yes, Sandra.
No, it's okay. You can go to the next question.
Okay, the next question is um, from Amruta. A part of me is trying to learn as much as possible from the workshops, courses, and books on how to grow food. But another part of me, like you've mentioned, it is also unnecessary because I already know deep within how to do it. So, what would be a good way forward? Studying more or just going ahead and doing it?
Sandra, would you like to?
Yeah, just, I think just go ahead, just like Clea said, make a hole, dig it, and plant. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, that's what it is all about. You have to, you have to get out there and experience it for yourself. Because many times we go through lots of books and we go on the net and we find things, they look very colorful. So We just have those big dreams, but once we go, where we get there into the garden, sometimes things don't work out the way we look at them on the net. So I think in that case, you have to experience it for yourself. If you know something, you've seen it, you've learned it, you've read about it, go and do it. And that's the only way.
Right, right. That's
What
also the
do you
way
say?
that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandra. That's the way I also started off 5 years back by just trying. I mean, of course, I tried it when I was 13 years old, and growing this groundnuts in my veranda, and I didn't know the science, and I took a variety of groundnuts that was a creeper, and I didn't know it was going to creep, and I thought it was going to go under the soil only. And after about 1.5 months, these small pods started coming out from the side, and I thought my groundnut tree was diseased. So yeah, so try it out, and you learn, you learn things that there are different kind of groundnut trees, one that are creepers and will give the groundnuts at different places, and one that grow at the root only. So another question from Amruta is, uh, no one, of course, growing your own food is the best. But if all of us, city people, start growing their own food, how will the farmers' families sustain themselves? So I think
I can help.
anybody wants to answer that?
Clea.
I'll try. So
It's
when you start growing your own food, you realize how little you end up growing and how much more there is to buy. So if you really cut out, if you have a small space, you'll get a salad and some vegetable every day. But if you ate only salad and vegetable, if you're there are many body types and there are many nutritional needs. You will need, the farmers are largely growing beans and grain in India, and you will not get a bowl of dal for every day from your kitchen garden. So so the farmers are doing the bulk of the foods that are the carbohydrates and the vegetarian proteins that won't be easy in small spaces. The farmers are
Right.
also feeding themselves now. The notion of agriculture is changing a little bit. They're putting in biodiversity, having local markets, and there are farmers markets. So there's a new way of thinking about farming also, as well as that they are producing the bulk.
I agree with you, Clea, because there are limitations to what we can grow in our backyard or in our balconies. For example, if you're talking about growing rice, we can't do that in small spaces. So definitely the farmer will have his job of growing rice, as you said, in bulk. So we have our limitations. We can just come up with herbs and salads, leaves, and just a few veggies, and of course at least contribute 50% or 25% to our daily diet. So that's how it is. And it's
Precisely.
not only just about growing and eating, but it's more about the exercise, the health, and what you feel about growing your own little food. So I don't think the farmers should be out of business. They'll be still growing the bulk, and we will try to help them in our small way. So yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
that's
So
Thank
about it.
you, Sandra.
what's happening in Delhi, Daryl, is that if the farmer who was making, say, 2,000 rupees a month from to 4 acres is now making 2,000 rupees a day by taking a few vegetables to the farmer's market in Gurgaon. So there is a change in dynamics right now. The same farmer is making a lot more by growing a lot less.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
that's a changing dynamic, and that's what's happening with us also here. I think the more organic, farmers markets that happen across the country is better for the farmer, because then they don't have to sell it at lower price to some middleman or to the mandi and all of that. They can just,
Absolutely.
come and bring their own stuff and make some more. So that's right. They can grow less and make more money. And And also, yes, I completely agree with you that there are certain range of, like pulses and grains that mainly the farmers can do, and small people, with even a, 100, 200 square meters or 300 or 500 square meters, you're not going to be growing pulses and grains. Uh, so that is kind of reserved for the farmer, so their income is intact. And to
Yeah.
Amrita, I would
And
just like
also,
to tell you, you know, uh, just think of how much packaged food products and all of these companies that are making all of that. You reduce that amount of intake, and that you supplement by growing it yourself. So the farmer is not going to get so badly affected with that. I think the amount of real food that should come in the system, that really needs to go up. That's the major change that we need. Um, so I'll go to the next question from Sonia. With water shortage in the future, how will we sustain farming with less water? Does Goa seriously do water harvesting? So yes, there are already some water shortages in like Punjab and uh, other places where they are, to do farming, they are digging 300, 400 meters down. And my second question to the panelists are this, is that water down there, is it meant for farming? So two parts to the question that with less water and current situation where people are taking out of borewell, let's put that first. Is that water, you know, safe for farming? And if not, then how much of rainwater harvesting is actually happening in different states of India?
so who
So
will?
yeah,
Me. Sandra, would you like to say something? I, I can.
I really can't answer this question. I don't have any idea. But what I feel and see around, at least in Goa, as for now, I don't see a lot of water harvesting happening. Yes, in other parts of India they do, but I think we have been quite blessed so far, at least few parts of Goa. But we got to think about this. The future is going to be quite tough for us people.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
And we should be prepared and think about this seriously. Yeah,
yes. So
because all
I
this time we have enjoyed plenty of water. So it never occurred to us like, are we thinking about harvesting water? And this year we have had plenty of rain and it's still pouring right now.
yeah,
So
so
in the
I would
future,
Yeah, I would like to ask another question to Clea, and it may be interesting for the audience too. So last year at the summit, we did have a speaker who presented, two speakers, Romain and Abhinav Apte. They presented on rainwater harvesting, and this year also in our third, section on environment and sustainability, we have a panel discussion on rainwater harvesting. So we're trying to highlight the topic and bringing out the need for it. And perhaps the best measurement is in any place is for people to see every year as it is passing how much during the summertime, how much your well water is going down. From top, you got to measure how many meters. This year it's gone down 10 meters. The next year it is 10.5 and then 11. So that is an important measure. So yes, obviously, people should do rainwater harvesting and we are trying to promote it the best we can. So coming back to my first question, Clea, about those, that water that's down at 300 feet. I mean, is that water for farming?
No, in a simple answer. But let me just discuss these groundwaters first. So there's 300 feet, which is your bore well, but there's something called fossil water, which is thousands of feet down, you know. And a lot of the world is using fossil water for watering their crops to grow food to feed themselves. And it is completely unnecessary if you know about water and about the way the earth is wired to handle water. In a nutshell, the best way to handle water and keep it in the top 3 meters where humans need it is via trees, carbon in the soil, and soil organisms. Now, how that works to hold water is another story, and I can share it with anyone if they'd like to. But if you get the trees in, so when people cut trees down, they don't realize they're cutting their water supply. You know, when they cut trees down, they don't realize that they're actually cutting the fertility of the land. They're losing the soil to the sea. There's erosion. Their whole civilizations have died because of the loss of soil. And when you lose soil, you lose water holding capacity, because then you don't have the roots, the trees, the soil life, and the carbon. And so when you get that in place correctly, that is actually rainwater harvesting the way the earth does it. That's why forests never need irrigation. Whereas just next to the forest, a farm needs it. Borewell water, 300 feet, is in the middle somewhere. Yes and no. Yes, maybe if you only have that to get started and then get off water eventually. And the best really is surface wells, rainwater harvesting trenches, ground your water, get your water into the ground, and then you'll never have a summer without water. And Hivre village, which has the most rainfall and the biggest waterfall in our area, has 6 months of full drought, you know, in Goa, even with all the rainfall in the world. So it's quite a serious problem.
Oh, thank you, Clea. And to our viewers, you can go to our website, thenewearthsummit.com, and over there you'll see the video section where the video of last year is there on the techniques for rainwater harvesting. So there are I think 2 or 3 very good techniques there which you can, learn and practice and try to do it in your place. Now, the next question which I said, was yes, clear from what you said, I've got it and have known that, because of trees on the land and their roots in the ground, then they retain water. And so that's a water retention kind of resource. Uh, but something connected to what Sandra said, and I've also been observing this, somewhere I've read or I've understood that besides the trees' roots in the ground holding the water, I've understood that trees have their own mechanism of creating vapors or some kind of signals by maybe, yeah, you may know this, that it creates certain vapors, and because of that, rain falls over there.
Yes.
So my question is that now why? This is my only explanation as to why Goa is having so much rain. Is I think it's not that we are just growing more and more trees because we are not doing it in such a big way. But I think what's happening is, if you look at the entire globe, there are other places where trees are being cut at such a great rate, and there is a certain amount of rain that has to fall on this earth. So if there are no trees in certain places, then obviously that rain is going to fall more on places where there is vegetation and growth. Do you think there's something like that, Clea?
So the fact that rain falls in any one place is due to several factors. It's not just trees. So let's divide this issue into 2 or 3. The point you were making, yes. See, so it's all about heat, pressure, evaporation, and transpiration. And of course your monsoons, which have a certain, because of pressures and depressions and things, there's a lot that that plays together before a rainfall happens. But so imagine if you have a lot of water in the air. If you have a lot of water in the air, but there's no nuclei, or there's nothing for that water to condense on, you will not get rain. And if there is very little moisture in the air, but there is nuclei, there's something for it to condense on, you'll get rain. So what trees do is, there's dust in the air, there is transpirational vapor in the air, and there's all kinds of things, and there's much more humidity for condensation to occur. And taken together with, of course, the larger spaces, the larger climatic issues like the monsoons and pressure belts, we get rain. And so to explain this in a nutshell is not going to be as easy. as one would think. But sometimes the point that you made, that there is that much rain and it has to fall, sometimes it cannot fall, you know. It may just stay there if there are no nuclei. It may just stay as humidity. It may move with the winds to another space. You know, it's not simple, this rainfall thing. But you will ensure much more rainfall than before if you get the trees in, get the carbon in the soil, get the roots to infiltrate down into the water table. There are little roads and pathways that allows water to go down. And especially if there are worms working in your soil, there are holes and air, and
Right.
you know, so it's a mixed bag actually of events.
Thank you, Clea.
Very interesting.
So I can go to the next question. And where was it? It's from Sandeep. PS. What are the regulations in terms of selling extra produce? Is certification required? So yeah, so this is for people who are beginning in there and they are growing a little more than what they are consuming. So is there any certification or certain things that some permissions do they have to take to sell extra produce?
Depends on how you want to sell it. Do you want to sell it as organic in the market?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You want
So
to sell it?
let's
Yeah.
if you could answer the basic question. Let's say somebody is not trying to say it's organic, but they're just trying to sell something that's grown on their homeland, on their own land. So is there any regulation or permission?
I don't think so. I'm not aware. No.
Yes. Sandra, do you know of
And
any?
if it's organic, yeah, as she said, I'm also not very sure about that. But if you want to sell as organic, then you'll have to be a certified organic farmer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
So same with me.
So there's a process, yeah. But otherwise, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they have to do. Usually these kind of people, they have these markets, small markets in the village, in farmers markets and all kinds of things. And that's where they sell it. But if it's going to be organic, then they have to definitely go through a process and they have to be certified organic farmers.
Right.
The other
So
thing we
at,
do, sorry.
yeah. So at least in Goa, because I've been talking to these local, small scale people who are doing it. So at least I know in Goa and in Mumbai also that these people who grow and sit even on the main street, on the roads where, police and everything is going up and down, they have never said that they require any kind of permission to sell food. They may have had to pay a toll at a certain place to, as a rent to. So I don't also know of any such thing, at least in Bombay, Goa, Pune. I've seen that there is no such,
And word of mouth works. If I say that I grew it organically and you trust me, and you say it's farm assured, or whoever's grown it will say, I'll show you this, you can come and see. That's moving a lot. People are going in that
Yes.
direction. Yeah, they're more personal.
So now this word organic, right? So organic is it like it comes in that classification of patented? That means you cannot use that word because you can use the word natural, right? That I am
Yeah.
growing natural food. I don't think there is any regulation on the using the word natural, is there?
I don't think so.
So
No.
there is a regulation on this word organic, correct?
Only if you package it and sell it in
In supermarkets,
you can
yeah.
use, I can say I've got organic vegetables to my neighbor, and that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Or to my
Yes.
community. I can say,
Because, yeah, and I also see many people as they take their walks in the fields and all, they go directly up to the farmer who's there and they'll ask them if they're selling anything. And that's the way we get our veggies. The safest way, I think, It may not be organic because we don't know what's going in there. But when we go to them and we say, okay, you have some nice lady fingers or we have chili, so you just go and buy them from there. We really don't have an idea what they're doing, but I guess it's more natural, at least 50 to 60% natural. We don't know what is going in there.
Okay.
because, yeah.
Okay, Sandra, thank you. And next is a question from Miguel Werner Egypti. Which millets can be grown in the garden? So yeah, at least I have been growing, the red amaranth and the green millet. So two I managed to grow in Goa. And of course, both of our panelists will have more experience on millets. Sandra, what would you like to share?
Um, I I really didn't grow many of those. I go most with I mean vegetables like salad leaves, and I go with
Okay.
what do you call it, herbs.
So typically,
Yeah.
on your terrace and in your home, what are you growing right now?
Right now I'm going. I've just started
We
with
saw the
broad
pumpkin.
beans.
Yeah.
Yeah, pumpkins and long gourd. I grow tomatoes. I grow green chilies. I mean the vegetable ones, and a lot of these tendoras. And I have huge ones, and I harvested a lot of them today. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Even
So
I have them. Yeah.
yes. So yard beans as well, and
Right.
they grow in plenty. I had a big basket full of them, and I thought maybe I'll just show you all. It grows in plenty. So I'm yet
Okay.
to start my terrace garden, which is just
Okay.
around 80 square meters. So I'm waiting. I've got all the material, and I'm waiting to get started.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Wish you all the best, Sandra.
Thank
With
you.
that, Clea, your comments on millets. What are the millets that can be grown easily?
Depends what you're growing it for. I mean, if you're growing it for the leaves, for fodder or for mulch, but if you want to get a whole bag, a kilo of millets, it's not easy in small spaces. The birds love millets, and if you're the only one growing millets, the bird's gonna have eaten your millet in your terrace before you have a chance to take some from it.
Okay.
So yeah, growing bulk millets is another. It's a grain. So growing a lot of growing spices, growing large amounts of haldi, growing seeds like mustard and jeera, growing millets, grain and pulses is usually done in larger spaces. To get the
Okay.
kind
So,
of volume. Yeah.
so
So
all these
for all
millets that
those
we
who,
get, sorry, all these millets that we get in the market, they are all done on a
Right.
large scale. So how do those farmers manage? Because there would be birds all around the place.
Yeah, so what happens with farmers is they all seed together. There's a season for seeding rice in Kalangut on this day. And there's a season for seeding rice in Hivre on this day and that area. So every farmer seeds together and they yield together, and the birds get enough and the farmers get enough. But if you're the odd one doing a grain or a millet,
Okay.
then the birds come, all of them come to you. So it's very
yeah.
important. Yeah, when you do this in a large scale, it's very important that all the farmers seed together and harvest at this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Get it. So basically, you have to grow enough for the people and the birds, and
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
both of us
And
get it.
I would like to add something to that. When these farmers they come together, like when we say community farming, what do you see them doing is like if there were 10 farmers, the first day one will sit there, and the second
Each
day
week.
another will sit there, just scaring the birds away. I don't know how much that helps, but it's quite a tedious job to sit there and drive those birds off.
Yeah,
But
they do
I
that.
have something very nice which I tried out in my garden whenever I grew chilies. The bird's eye chilies, especially those, the birds love eating the chilies. And what I did is I just went to one of my friends who has those fish nets, the old ones. So I just got a few pieces of that. Of course, this is a very small space, so it was easy. I'm just talking about the small space gardening. So I just got that net and I threw it over that chili. I just put a few sticks and just threw it over the sticks, and they were scared to come in because once they came in, their feet were stuck into that fishnet, the very fine ones, which are usually thrown away because they have holes in it. You just put it there and it helps a lot. So once they get caught into it, they don't want to adventure again on that tree. Also for the bats, during the night, they come and just enjoy the fruit. Just get some thorny bushes and put it up there, and you'll never see them come again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely, wonderful.
So these are like small tips for small little spaces.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yeah.
So our time is up, but we'll take one last question. And it is from Vasundhara. Which is an easier way of composting in urban areas with limited spaces? Aerobic or anaerobic composting?
Aerobic.
Clea, you want to say something? Yes.
I have never been a fan of anaerobic composting. Never. No, whether you're a small space or a big space. There are many reasons for this. It's always and should always be aerobic. If you're measuring decomposition, that's fine. You can compost however you want. But if you're measuring health for yourself, health for the plant, health for anything, anaerobic has this space which allows pathogens to grow. All pathogens for humans and living things are either facultative, aerobes, or they're all anaerobic actually. So you're giving pathogens a space and a condition to grow. When you have anaerobic composting, you get alcohols, you get acids. Those are not really good for roots. When you have anaerobic composting, you have heat buildup, which means your worms are not going to be happy. There's a lot that I don't like about anaerobic composting. So I've created, and many people have created aerobic systems for small spaces. And I would go with aerobic any day. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.